Welcome to Palestine Files. I'm Wissam Bahrani. What's the cost of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land? Apartheid, slain children, wars, war crimes, terrorism, human rights violations, etc. We know this, right? But what's the financial cost of the occupation? Thanks to a report by the United Nations, we now have a clearer estimate of the numbers. The numbers have finally arrived. What took them this long, only the Lord knows. In this episode of Palestine Files, we're going to digest the figures. How much Tel Aviv is stealing from occupied Palestine. The United Nations Conference on Trade and Development has revealed some shocking figures on the economic cost of the Israeli occupation for the Palestinian people. The agency says the fiscal cost of the Israeli occupation for the Palestinians between 2000 to 2017 is estimated at $47.7 billion. This is 3 times the size of the Palestinian economy in 2017 alone. The figure has been published in a report and consists of lost public revenues and interest payments. This is estimated at $28.2 billion in interest and $6.6 billion in leaked Palestinian fiscal revenues to Tel Aviv. The Palestinian representative to the United Nations Conference on Trade and Development says the report focuses only on the fiscal cost of the occupation. This means only the amount of revenue lost by the Palestinians as a result of the Israeli occupation. Mohammed Al-Khafif says the final figures are likely to be much higher.
Whatever we have reported here is does not include everything. In a sense, the economic cost, even the fiscal cost of occupation, is an evolving thing because we have difficulty in measuring all the elements. So what we are saying and what we are saying that what we are reporting today or tomorrow to the GA is not a final figure. It is an evolving thing. It could, the more we have information, the more we have data, then we could calculate more cost.
Al-Khafif says the report has been produced based on 5 consecutive UN General Assembly resolutions demanding an assessment of the cost of the Israeli occupation.
The economic cost of occupation, and here I'm talking economic, not only the revenue lost, we are handling only one element, is a huge thing. And sometimes there is no methodology to do it. I would give you an example. For example, natural gas in the Mediterranean Sea. I mean, how could you calculate the cost of Israel using the natural gas that's supposed to be in Gaza water? To start with, how could you calculate the cost of a sovereign decision, not only sovereign for this generation, but sovereign for the future generation, to decide to extract a non-renewable resource? In a sense, if Israel is using the Palestinian natural gas, then Israel is taking decision not on behalf of the Palestinians of this generation, but also on the behalf of the future generation.
The report attributes the fiscal losses to measures imposed by the Israeli occupation. What do these measures include? Restrictions on the free movement of Palestinian people and goods. The military occupation, Tel Aviv's control of Palestinian crossing points to the outside world, depriving the Palestinian government of meaningful control over its fiscal resources, as well as denying the Palestinians their right to freely utilize their land, natural resources, and human resources. That's right, there happens to be natural resources in occupied Palestine. Ever wonder why the Palestinians are living in poverty? It's a very serious issue. What if this money had actually gone to the people it actually belongs to? Would Palestinian poverty end or unemployment levels drop? How has Israel exploited the Palestinian economy? These are some of the questions we put to Hassan Al-Khatib, a professor at Berzit University in the occupied West Bank.
Had the occupation ended and the Palestinians were enjoying normal freedom life, These $48 billion, which are the losses resulted from the Israeli occupation policies and exploitation in the Palestinian territories, this amount of money could have helped the Palestinians becoming a developed country and get us out of the poverty and unemployment that we are living. This amount of money is enough to bring the Palestinian economy into a very advanced situations and make the Palestinian people live in comfortable economic life. The main reason for the economic difficulties that the Palestinians are living, which is leading into high level of poverty and unemployment and backward economy, are all resulted from specific Israeli economic policy and restrictions. If you look at any of the reports of the World Bank, you will realize that they indicate clearly into the Israeli practices and restrictions as the main impediment for economic development. For example, preventing the Palestinians from using resources in Area C, which is 2/3 of the Palestinian territories, stealing most of the Palestinian water, exploiting cheap Palestinian labor in Israel, exploiting the Palestinian holy places for touristic purposes for Israel. These are examples of the ways Israel has been exploiting economically the Palestinian occupied territories. I don't think that the United Nations is going to do anything practical to alleviate the economic suffering of the Palestinians or to prevent the Israeli illegal exploitation economically of Palestine. Unfortunately, the United Nations is only monitoring what we already know and live. But we hope that one day the international community and the United Nations will take practical policies and measures to hold Israel accountable for their violations of the Palestinian rights, including on the economic level.
Let's put things into perspective regarding this UN report. As mentioned, from the year 2000 to 2017, Palestinians lost nearly $48 billion as a result of the Israeli occupation. This money would have wiped out the Palestinian budget deficit. In fact, it would have generated a surplus nearly twice the size of the current deficit. That's sad, isn't it? That really brings a tear to the eye, it really does. Now, to make matters worse, the money would have created 2 million jobs. 2 million jobs lost. Just to be clear, that's 2 million jobs from the period 2000 to 2017, an average of 111,000 jobs per year. Now, our team on the ground in occupied Palestine spoke to the people there about this economic loss. Let's hear what they have to say.
في الاتحاد الأوروبي في إحدى المرات لما كنت مسافرة خارج فلسطين كان في المؤتمر اللي يعني أعلمونا فيه إنه يعني كمية الفلوس اللي وصلت فلسطين بالسنوات الماضية هي فلوس يعني بتكفي لكل مواطن فلسطيني، مش بس يعني لمجموعات فلسطينية أو لمخيمات أو لمدن.
لازم نشجع كمان إحنا الاستثمار، لأنه أول شيء لازم نهيئ عنا بيئة استثمارية عنا بفلسطين، لأنه أهم شيء في اقتصادنا الفلسطيني إنه يكون في عنا مستثمرين بهالبلد، مش إنهم يستثمروا بالخارج. ممكن نستغل هذه الأموال في أول شيء نبني اللي هي البنى التحتية اقتصاديا لدينا، وطبعا ممكن هذا اللي بتحكي فيه حلم، لأنه إحنا اقتصادنا ما بيقدر ينفك عن الجانب الإسرائيلي، لأنه كله مرتبط بالجانب الإسرائيلي. حتى لدى المستثمرين في خوف إنهم يستثمروا في فلسطين رغم إنها مناخ مناسب للاستثمار.
48 مليار اللي تم خسارتهم من قبل الاحتلال الإسرائيلي أنا بشوف إنه إحنا بالنهاية كشعب تحت احتلال وكدولة محتلة نقدرش نتحكم فيهن، ما فيش عندنا أمان اقتصادي نقدر نتحكم فيه. بس إذا بدنا نقدر نستثمرهن لعنا مشان اقتصادنا، في 4 محاور رئيسية أنا بشوفها من وجهة نظري هن مهمات. أول شيء التعليم، ثاني شيء الصحة، ثالث شيء السياحة والأمن والأمان.
يعني في البداية هي الخسائر الفلسطينية مش بس خسائر مادية بسبب الاحتلال، الخسائر خسائر بشرية، خسائر اجتماعية في ظروفها، وخسائر ثقافية. فيعني في الجانب الخسائر احنا عم نخسر كثير.
أنا بقارن هذا المبلغ اللي هو 48 مليار دولار بنسبة البطالة الموجودة عندنا. متخيل كان انه ساعد وساهم كثير بتعزيز فرص عمل وخلق فرص عمل كثيره من خلال تحويلها من نفقات ضائعه للاحتلال وخسرانينها لنفقات تحويليه اللي هي النفقات اللي احنا بنقدر نستفيد منها بالاستثمار، نستثمر المال اللي بيضيع من الاحتلال.
Without further ado, let's bring in our first guest of the show. Charla Cates is the International Coordinator at Sarmadoon, Palestinian Prisoner Solidarity Network. Ms. Cates, welcome. Firstly, what's your take on this UN report that the Israeli occupation costs Palestinians more than $48 billion?
As you can tell by the size of the number, $48 billion is a huge amount of money. I mean, this is money that could be going to provide health care, that could be going to provide education, that could be going to provide better jobs, that could be going to strengthen and nurture, an economy based on popular development and self-sustainability and support. And of course, all of this is being denied to the Palestinian people by the Israeli occupation. Just as much as there's an attack on Palestinians' right to political self-determination, there's also an attack that goes hand in hand on Palestinians' right to economic self-determination, to determine their own future and to develop their economy. These are funds that belong to the Palestinian people. And in many ways, the Israeli economy, is really built on the theft of Palestinian land and the extraction of value from Palestinian labor and Palestinian natural resources.
Right. And Israel is widely accused of apartheid, which I believe is a crime against humanity. This robbery of Palestinian wealth, is it not on a similar level to that?
Well, apartheid is a crime against humanity. Legally, apartheid is a crime against humanity.
Okay.
And what we're seeing with the organized and systematic de-development of the Palestinian economy is, in fact, a crime against humanity. And this is the sort of crime for which Israeli officials should be held accountable for at the International Criminal Court and elsewhere. The fact is that Israel's crimes against the Palestinian people are being supported and sustained by countries like the United States, Canada, the European Union, when these countries should actually be using their economic power to impose sanctions on Israel for its systematic violation of the Palestinian people's rights, its systematic creation of an apartheid state, an apartheid structure, which is a crime against humanity, which is legally prosecutable.
Charla Cates, thank you very much for joining this episode of Palestine Files. We're going to pause for a brief moment and be right back with the rest of the show. So, the Israeli occupation has taken a big toll on Palestinian employment levels. Let's see the reality on the ground. What occupation is like, what apartheid is like, what the average Palestinian has to go through to make a living. For Palestinians, olives are one of the main sources of income. Here, Palestinians are harvesting their olive trees in a field. The field is adjacent to Israel's controversial apartheid wall. The wall prevents Palestinians from transferring their olives from one part of their occupied land to another area of the occupied territories. In order to move around the West Bank, these farmers must pass Israeli checkpoints. They must display permits to Israeli forces in order to cross the apartheid wall.
التسريح بدل ما يعطونا 3-4 أشهر بعطونا شهر ومدة الشهر لا بدنا نلحق نشت ولا بدنا نلحق نحافظ على الشجر ولا نلحق نسوي له حاجة. يعني بهدلي كل الهدف منه مشان احنا نترك الارض هذه ويستولوا عليها وتخرب الزيتون مشان نبطل نعاود عليها.
The Israeli soldiers supervise the farmers. After a long wait, they are eventually allowed to pass through the apartheid wall. The whole process is humiliating, to say the least.
نفوت عليها وأثر على اقتصادنا بشكل رهيب، يعني بدك صحيح أخر علينا، بدل ما نسوي 10 جراكن و15 بنسويش جركن، وجركن شو بده يصرف على 4-5 دور. أنا عندي عيلة كبيرة، ابني وأولادي الثانيين وأنا، وشو بدي أقول لك؟
This is, after all, Palestinian land, albeit occupied Palestinian land.
بقينا قبل ما يصير الجدار، يعني فيش الأرض قريبة بقت للبلدي، فيش ربع ساعة إلا إحنا واصلين أرضنا. هالكيت بدنا نمشي يعني مسافة يمكن 15 كيلو. تمنى نصل البوابة عند سكة ويومنا نصل هناك بيقولوا لنا بدكم تستنوا الضابط تيجي، بنبقى نستنى، بنبقى ساريين من الساعة 6 نستنى.
The measures imposed by Israel don't just mean a loss of income, but also a low standard of living. The administration of US President Donald Trump's so-called deal of the century includes a proposal of some $25 billion in an investment fund for the occupied West Bank and the besieged Gaza Strip. The initiative is spearheaded by Trump's son-in-law and senior advisor Jared Kushner.
ومن هون أنا من رأيي كل اللي بيحكوا ليس صحيحا. إذا جمعوا 50 مليار ستكون لجيبة كوشنير، أما المشاريع فتكون مؤجلة، وهي عبارة عن كسر الموقف العربي وإنه إحنا بدنا نربيكم زي الخرفان من شان يوم العيد نذبحكم. هذا كلام ما بمشي. إحنا جوعنا جوع كرامة وتحرير، وليس أطفال وبيلعبوا مثل كوشنير ومثل جرين بلات ومثل كل ساعة بيخرجوا بأسطوانة صدئة رديئة. أما السيد ديفيد فريدمان وهو المستوطن الكبير فيهم فيمنح الحق لإسرائيل بضم ما تريد من الضفة الغربية.
Palestinians have dismissed the now stalled plans, saying they are all abstract promises and that only a political solution would bring an end to their plight.
تقديري هذا الحكي مش مزبوط، بدليل انه هذا رجل تاجر، شايف كيف؟ واحد تاجر هو مبتدئ بالسياسة، وهو عمليا القرار لم يأتي منه قط، القرار يأتي من نتنياهو اللي بده اياه مع ترامب بيصير واحد. اثنين، هاي اسمها صفقة القرن بطريقة غير مباشرة والالتفاف على القضية الفلسطينية.
Nevertheless, Kushner did manage to achieve something. He successfully united the Palestinians from all walks of life in their opposition to his plan. The Hamas resistance movement reacted to this so-called deal of the century, saying Palestine is not for sale. You can't sell an oppressed nation's dignity, no matter how much money you throw at them. Now, social media users have also reacted to this. Let's check out what's being posted online, what's trending out there. Time to bring in our second and final guest of the show. Sarab Abed is an independent journalist and political commentator. Ms. Abed, welcome. Israel is essentially getting away with these crimes. How is this happening?
Yes, they're getting away with it because, unfortunately, and they haven't really been that shy about saying this, but they don't see Palestinians as an equal. So they feel like, that they have a right to the land, and that whatever crimes that they're doing, they always try to create like a pretext of that we're defending ourselves, that we're in a defensive mode, but they're the ones that are a lot of times targeting the Palestinians. So, they don't see them as an equal. That would be something that would be important for them to do before any progress were to be made.
And are there any chances of peace or some kind of deal between Palestine and the Israelis, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think it's out of the question because we haven't seen any initiatives from the Israeli side that show that they actually want peace and that they want a resolution. Again, they feel that Palestinians are, a lesser, person to them. Right. If there were to be a deal, which I don't think there will be, and I don't think it would be in the benefit of Palestinians to make a deal with Israel. And you can kind of compare this to making a deal with a terrorist, organization. The Israeli entity hasn't done anything that shows us that, they would be honest and willing to, follow through with any agreements that are to be made.
Sarab Abed, independent journalist and political commentator, thank you for your insight and participation. So, you heard from the experts, Palestinians on the ground and the international online community. But what about international media? What have the headlines reported? So, what have we learnt? Crimes continue to emerge and spring up as a result of the Israeli occupation of Palestinian land. The latest being the money that belongs to Palestinians that can allow Palestinians to thrive is ending up in the pockets of Tel Aviv. It's unfortunate for countless reasons. Chief among them is that this is daylight robbery. Anywhere else in the world you would see international action, sanctions and other punitive measures. Yet when you have the United States standing behind you, you are literally allowed to get away with daylight robbery. We've reached the end of the show. Thank you for watching. From me and the whole team, it's goodbye, and make sure you don't miss our next episode of Palestine Files next week.